It is a made-up word.
Oh, there we go. I was about to say, do we have to call someone?
I'm assuming you haven't heard it before, Heck, then?
I have not. It's
I'm
just
shabaffled.
no, for goodness sakes, moving on. Personal stories about
Golly.
authority. I mean,
Yes.
if you just shared one. I mean, you shared one where you were in an authority position. Do you want to share one?
Me?
No, I mean Impy. Just now with the
Oh.
tree. That was him in charge. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have any where you aren't in charge and you had to deal with it? Like deal with authority, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because I'd be interested in that,
Share one of those, and I would personally love if you have one to hear a story about your position, or a story about your religion and authority, or has there been nothing whatsoever where you had some very interesting things to share? Is he cutting out?
No.
Oh, there you go.
No, I was just going,
Shabuffles.
Shabuffled. So, no, I can't think of anything with my religion because no one in the church is really commanding. It's not like they've said, "Go, my child, and preach to the nations."
Not necessarily that, but maybe your church itself was involved with other people who tried to exert authority on it, or people took it the wrong way when the church tried to, I presume here, and I very much believe this is true, tried to help them by being nice, and then they really didn't like it because they are anti-church, and so they started saying, you don't get to control us, or maybe there's something about your mission trips, or maybe there's nothing, because it's boring.
So no, the church is pretty good about not having people who don't want to be helped. And our mission trips are, at least, everything I know, it's pretty much, we go with a group that's already in the area, so they already know everything. It's very streamlined. Everything over here is very streamlined, I would say. I can't think of anything. I mean, there's stuff with like the Pope. He's saying things that most people don't agree with.
What is he saying? If you don't mind giving an example, if you do, we can move on. This is just personal curiosity.
I do believe a little while ago, the Pope was talking about. Actually, this might be okay with the way the Catholic Church is run, but wait, can I? I'm remembering these things. It might have been the Lutheran Church, which is a denomination of Christianity. I mean, so the Pope at one point, I think he made a statement saying homosexual relations were sanctioned by the church. And another point in time, the Lutheran Church, which is run by a governing body as opposed to one person, they said that it was okay for women to serve as pastors, which are both things that are expressly denied by the Bible. So in both of those situations, we have the one authority, an appointed authority, contradicting a textual authority, which is, and the textual authority is where they get their authority from. I know.
Well, I mean, like,
what were we talking about?
I mean, just like your experiences, religious experiences with authority. But I mean, this ties back to what Summer said at the very beginning, right? It's a social thing, right? A social construct. Like, they can accept it or they can't accept it. His authority, his manners, his sayings on the word, right? I mean, that's just that. There's nothing more to it. It's just either they accept it or they don't, and then the world goes on.
Yeah, it gets pretty complicated in there in some places. No, that's the only examples I can think of. Actual conflict and authority. Yeah, tension in. It's not even in my own personal life.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to bring this up
Yeah.
again. Started off this podcast with saying something about coming out.
MP.
Shabaffle.
Shush now.
Shabuffle.
Okay, that is enough from you then. That statement perfectly pinpoints your views. And heck, you're burning to ask him about his experiences on receiving authority.
Yeah.
And then you can do your share. So, Tyler, go.
Okay, fine. Personal story. I don't handle it well. I was working at a carpentry apprenticeship 2 years ago, and we had received materials that were messed up, and I had a brilliant idea that would fix the whole thing, and the guy who was in control, who was leading our little project at the time, was like, no, we'll just do it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, bruh. And so next day I didn't show up at work.
Uh-huh. Is that it?
So yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I did the right thing.
Did you notify them about quitting?
Well, no, it wasn't quitting. It was like the job had ended, but I didn't show up. Before any further jobs were offered to me, I resigned and put in my application for resigning and said, I will no longer be working here.
Mm-hmm.
So no thank you. Because it was the kind of work environment where the bosses tell you what to do and you do exactly as they say. Which it does not sit well with me at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll have to say I agree with you generally, as we talked about today, right? Allow your employees to give their own input, feedback, reviews, and have their own thoughts, unless it's absolutely necessary because there's a time constraint. In those cases, I presume you also wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have to do that sometimes because it's time
Yes, you
constrained.
do.
Yeah, that's. I am in a position where I do not put myself under the authority of other people because I don't trust them.
I guess that's
what
valid.
you think. Okay, Heck, you want to say something?
I mean, I don't know. I think I've told most of my, dealings with authority stories on this podcast before, right? But I'll just harken back to the very first one where, I had a nice little life. I went to kindergarten, in Germany. Everything was just normal childhood. And then when it came around, the time to stop that kind of kindergarten school stuff and get into like an actual public school, my parents took me to like a school physician or something. And they were like, I think it's just something in Germany. They just test you to see if you're like physically fit to go in school. You've got like no coordination issues or something like that. So they were doing that with me. And I remember, the lady who was doing the exam for me was like some old hag. And I was a very rude kid. So I didn't really like the lady, And I feel like
what did you mean, where?
Huh? Oh, Summer, shut up. And apparently, I don't remember all of it. But my parents say I may have offended as an old lady doing the exam. So what she wanted to do was she wanted to get my parents to sign a document that stated that I was, retarded, and then that would have stuck with me for life, It's like, okay, this kid is like mentally challenged. And my parents were like, no, we're not signing that. Are you kidding me? And then they took me to a different doctor and he's like, no, he's fine.
I would have signed that.
Oh, Summer, shut up. I mean, Impy, God.
Yeah, Summer.
God.
Shut up, Summer.
Impy,
All right, I'll shut up even harder.
You can't do this to me, Impy. I got 2 against 1. I can't deal with that. But yeah, that was my first interaction with authority, and they already tried to screw me over. So ever since then, I never really had good experiences with authority. Like, I was always the loud kid, always the kid, who wouldn't listen when people would like try and tell you to do something. another striking moment was I was just playing tag with friends, in the school courtyard or whatever, and then a few of the kids ran to like the restrooms to like slam the stall doors, to like hide or whatever. And like this teacher came in and he's like, I can't believe you guys are in here. You're just doing what? And they're like, you guys are vandalizing school property and the bathrooms. I'm like, what the hell are you on about? And all the other kids just look down. They're all sad, under this big authoritative teacher. They're all like, oh no, we did the wrong thing. Oh, we need to be punished. I was the only one standing there wondering what the hell this guy was on about. And
Wait. So
Yeah.
what were you guys doing? Slamming the stall
no,
doors?
what's it? The kids ran in, right? And they like closed the doors. They slammed the doors to like the stalls, to not get tagged or whatever.
Destruction of private property.
That's
Yeah.
not destruction of pride. If you close a door hard, that's not the same thing as vandalizing like
Yeah,
a
not the
freaking
same.
public place, And we were kids, right? We were small, we were young. Half the kids probably didn't even know what was wrong or what they were doing, And then
Well, you needed to be told what was wrong. You never learned.
Freaking Impy, you can't argue for this, right? Because the point is we didn't vandalize it. The way they were presenting it seems like we were like going in there with graffiti and ripping down. Oh, jeez. What is this? Are you hearing music? What is this? What the hell is going on?
It's summer feeling really bad for you.
No, I'm playing the Sound of Silence because I'm supposed to shut up twice.
God.
But keep talking.
That would make a lot of
They
sense.
sent us like straight to the director, right? Like they didn't even like kid around. They didn't do a warning. They didn't like yell at us or anything. We were just like, all right, straight to the director. So we're standing outside the director's like office, and all the kids were crying. I'm just standing there like I have no idea what's going on, And then they were like, all right, the school director is super busy right now. Doesn't So they brought in like the vice, the deputy or whatever, and he was like, all right. I heard from this other teacher that you were in there and you were vandalizing stuff. And I'm like, what? No. And then he was like, no. And then the other kids were like, yeah, we were. We were vandalizing stuff. I'm like, what the hell are you on about? So the vice director, he stomped off and then he went to talk to the other teacher again. And, he just repeated what he thought happened. He's just like, yep, they definitely vandalized everything. And he came back and then he yelled at me like, I can't believe you would lie to me like this, I'm like, what? What the hell is anybody talking about? It pissed me off so much. It still makes me mad thinking back, because we did nothing wrong. We're just being stupid. And it's like, sure, you can tell a kid not to be stupid, but don't drag him in front of the other directors. And what made me even more mad is that every other kid around there just took it, They just held their heads low and they were like, oh, we did this wrong thing. Even though they did nothing wrong, Like it was the whole kind of like BS group punishment that you see in like communist China, not in a public school. Jeez.
I'm very impressed by you.
What? Why? Because I stood up to this old fart as a kid?
Yeah, barely anyone has the energy or has the beliefs strong enough to stand up to such powerful, dominating figures, especially as a child.
Well, he pissed me off, Summer. What can I say? I get pissed off really easily. And I mean,
yes, you do.
That's a trend that kind of repeated itself throughout school. There's always all these kids, even like when they turn into teens, I only got more rebellious as time went on, all these other kids, they just they caved at every nook and cranny, every turn. They're always like, oh, we did something wrong, sorry, like stand by your freaking actions, you cowards. God, it pisses me off. Especially when you haven't done anything wrong.
But aren't they actually standing by their actions?
What, by
because they believe they did something wrong.
Well, they didn't though.
But they believe they did.
Well, they're stupid.
Okay, moving on. What about you in a position of authority?
I'm going
What
back
he
and
said?
smacking those stupid kids. The point is,
Tell me,
what
did you do when you had the power?
When I had power?
Jawohl.
I mean, when I have power, I try to treat everybody as equally and as fairly as I can. I mean, I run my own separate, personal server with just like friends from a game we played like years
cheating
ago.
on us.
Yeah, that shush. Actually, I'm cheating
That
on
is
them because
called Verrat.
Both of you are cheating. Wow.
the point
Wow.
is, I'm that server owner, and sometimes you do get stupid people who are dislikable, and they kind of disrupt the community, and then you have to deal with them. And I always try to be as fair as possible, but sooner or later, they get freaking removed. You got to put your foot down, and it's the same with any other circumstance. Right now I do have some certain creative projects, where I am in charge because freaking that's just nobody else wants to take charge, right? That's one thing I noticed. People very rarely want to actually be the person who are like, all right, let's do some work here, right? The point is that
initiative.
you gotta do it.
That's one of the
Inspire them to do
qualities
it.
of leadership.
Yeah,
One of the qualities of leadership that we didn't mention, initiative. That's the most important one, actually.
I think it is.
I will put it in motivation because you also got to motivate yourself.
Yeah. Well, anyways, right? People don't stand up and they kind of just do nothing. If there's no leader, people don't do anything. And that's why in creative projects, I go around and I kick people's butts. It's like, all right, you aren't feeling well, so take a day off, and then tomorrow let's get back to work.
Oh yes, that is exactly what you're doing. I absolutely didn't imagine you literally going around kicking people.
Well, sometimes they have to be kicked, right? Because sometimes people are just being lazy, and sometimes they are having a bad time. People cut me slack when I'm not doing well, at least now, So why shouldn't I cut slack for other people? I try to
cut slack for yourself.
Well, I don't do that, but that's different. The point is that I learned crappy authoritative figures I had in my life who kind of just were focused so hard on the fact that they had power over other people that they kind of dismissed their whole job and occupation, anything else, And I take that and I focus on what has to be done, and I like to think that I take enough care and initiative to make sure everybody's all right as well. That's how I deal, in authoritative situations, and I don't always like taking charge because guess what? It is difficult, and I'd rather sit around and let somebody else do it, right? But as more time goes on, the more you realize, nobody else is going to do it. It's the stupid bystander syndrome. You guys ever heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we don't have to explain for the audience. Perfect.
I'll do it anyway. I like your explanations.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Well,
also, I'm getting so much new input here because thank you, MP, for the innovation initiative. I didn't think of that, and the more I think about it, the more sense it makes, and the better it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bystander syndrome it's basically, for anybody who doesn't know, right? When you see somebody like collapse on the street and they're having a heart attack, everybody will gather around them, but nobody will call an ambulance, because everybody around you is thinking, oh, somebody else is definitely going to call the ambulance. I mean, he's dying, And, as a result, people don't call the ambulance. And then sooner or later, somebody's going to realize, oh, fucking goddamn it, nobody's calling anybody, and then everybody scrambles to do it. But those seconds, that's what could cost a person's life because people just aren't reacting. So that's why, anyways, when you're ever in a situation like that, the easiest thing you can do is point out someone specifically. You're in a crowd and then, I don't know, let's say your father collapses with a heart attack. You point to the nearest person, or you point to whoever you think, looks capable enough. And you're like, hey, you in the red shirt, call an ambulance now, and they'll be far more likely to do it. Just like how when you're, in any sort of emergency situation where you need to have a bunch of people around, like, I don't know, you're getting robbed or something, you should always yell fire instead of robbery or murder, because people won't respond to that. People will think, oh crap, somebody's getting murdered. I don't want to endanger myself. But if you yell fire, people are like, hey, lol, I want to see that, or whatever it goes through their head, They do respond to it faster. So yeah, little tidbits for you, little safety tips.
Yeah, very good ones.
Yeah.
So is there anything?
I was gonna say,
Authority sucks.
whenever I get on a plane, whenever I'm walking down the aisle, I look around for people who I think will take charge. Like, if this plane fell on a deserted island, who would be the leader here? Because I'm just hoping it's not me.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
Yeah, see, that's what I would think as well. It's like, that's so much work. But I guess if you're in that kind of situation, that kind of indicates that you have to be the one to do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I don't know.
But still.
People are stupid. And every time I see, I mean, that's part of the reason why I want to at least have the license to be a professor, you know? Because I think I would be a much better teacher than anybody who's ever taught me before, excluding Summer.
Excuse you, thank you.
You know, because Summer
I'm glad
was
to help you.
Summer was a nice teacher. He gave me breaks when I needed them, you know, and he was a nice boy, as opposed to
I
literally
was
anybody else
once.
ever tried to teach me. Yeah,
Yeah, I was nice by once.
yeah, you know.
All right, that covers everything I wanted to talk about today. Is there something you guys would like to talk about? Otherwise, I think we're about done, aren't we?
I can go on for hours about these teachers that I had.
We can stop this recording, start another one, and Summer and I can leave, and we can have a special episode.
I'm just
Yeah,
yelling.
we'll call it Hex Rambling.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I mean, have you guys not? Do you guys not have similar stories? I mean, you must have been annoyed by teachers as kids, right?
You cut out. We must have been what now?
You must have been annoyed by teachers as kids, right? I mean, how can you not be?
Nah.
Really?
I
No?
was homeschooled.
Oh yeah, right. I totally forgot about
You
that.
must have been. You must have been annoyed by your teachers as a teenager, or we've talked about this. It was something odd. Did you not go through a super rebellious phase as a teenager?
Who, me?
You. I think you mentioned that you didn't really have that ever.
Nope. I see that's what I was thinking the entire time Heck was talking. Like, I'm not one of the people to like put my head down and say, "Oh, I was wrong." I'm just like, I haven't done the wrong thing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And when a person in authority says something like, "Hey, can you do that?" Well, you know, typically I'll be like, let's see, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, this is a sort of a long-winded example. I was spending the night in the parking lot at a restaurant with some buddies.
Like spending the night as in like sleeping there?
Yes. The restaurant was Chick-fil-A was opening the next day, and they do this promotion where if you stay in the parking lot and you wait in line for 12 hours,
What?
no, and you wait in line for 24 hours, you get 52 free meals.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
America,
How can they
man.
sustain themselves?
I would love some chicken right
No,
now.
you see, so the worst thing was,
Wait, I have
no.
chicken. Never mind, please.
A bad thing about it was that they only have a spot open for 100 people, and only like 50 people showed up. So they had a lot of free gift certificates left over that they never gave out. But anyway, so we were waiting in the parking lot, and it was cold out. It was like November, so it was down into the 0 Celsius range. And
That's almost cold.
almost. And one of the rules there was, or one of the, for the whole group thing was no fires, please, because you're going to set your tent on fire and that could be bad. It's like, no fires. And I was like, cool, no fires. Well, some of the guys I was with brought out like this propane burner thing, and they were trying to warm themselves up around about
Propane.
Okay, there's a pun there, but so they were like warming themselves up, and then one of the officials came over and was like, "Hey, you guys got to turn that off." And they were like, "Grumble, grumble, grumble," and they turned it off. And then the next day, they were like complaining to someone, to like an HR person, like, "Oh, I just didn't feel welcome here." And I'm like, "They said no fires, and you guys started a fire." It's like, I know it was cold, but they have a reason for saying no fires, and you're not exempt from the rules because you're cold. So I'm that type of person who will pretty much agree with that type of authority all the time because I totally understand that it has been put in place for a reason.
Mhm.
So I will follow it because
Except for laws.
See, there's an interesting point to make about that. I don't think you had this, right? Because you were homeschooled, but in fire drills, they tell you to be quiet and walk in silence. You know?
You know.
Why?
Mhm.
So the
Because-
fire can't hear us when we're escaping the burning building?
No, it's because... Go ahead.
Now, I would say it's probably because so they can hear the person screaming in pain who's burning to death.
See, I always thought it was like to avoid panic. But have you ever been in a fire drill? Who was panicked? And even if there was a real fire, who would panic? You know, we aren't like, okay, sure, some of us might be rebellious, little annoying, fuckers, right? But the point is, we aren't stupid. If there's a fire and the fire drill is to go outside and wait in the field, that is what we are going to do. There is no need to, walk around. Like they had like teachers positioned at like staircases and like doorways who would like shh as you would walk by, and it just annoyed the hell out of me. And I would tell them as I walked by, I'm like, oh no, the fire is going to hear us and come and get us. Ooh, wow, ooh. Better be quiet, Freaking
Wow.
like the teachers thought it was stupid as well. So what was the point? I feel like a lot of this kind of stupid authoritative behavior comes from like having rules and not really understanding why the rules are there in the first place. They just kind of religiously follow what's been put into place because
religiously.
Well, I mean, it's like, all right, no phones, right? Nobody used their phones in class, and then at the
totally
same time,
understand that.
yeah, sure, But then sometimes the teacher's like, all right, look up something, or like, hey, if you need to take a picture of these notes, just take a picture of them, and then you go out into the corridor. And I mean, for my school, right? They literally said, all right, keep the day planner on your phone. All right, keep the plan of the day on your phone so you always have it. And guess where you check your phone? In the corridor, because it's the day, because you need to know what class to go to next. And then they walk up to you and they're like, "Well, what are you on your phone, boy? What are you doing there with your phone?"
Yeah, that just sounds like bad planning on their parts.
It is terrible planning. I had the beautiful luck of like having just the worst school ever. And
yeah,
then
I wanted to say that it just sounds like his school is kind of sucky.
Yeah. See, I had the mix of like I don't like authority already and stupid people freaking running the school. Did I ever tell you guys the story of how we took 5 trains home from Amsterdam to Germany when there was one direct train?
You did. Saving that money to quote unquote give it back.
Yeah. Wait, they didn't even say they were going to give it back. They were just like,
yeah, that's why I said quote unquote.
Yeah. And then I pointed it out and they were like, no, stop, shut up, you. Then guess what? They also bought the wrong tickets, so we were just doing it illegally. We're just on the train illegally. God, I hate that school. That's my single burning like rage inside my heart. I'm gonna go back there one day and I'm gonna just ruin it, if it's still standing, because no child should be subject to going to that kind of school. They take so much money and then they treat you with the most abhorrent behavior you could possibly imagine. My physics teacher played chess in class instead of answering any of my questions. Oh, why do you have a bad physics grade? Heck, I'll tell you why. Freaking universities, God. Anyways, my rage.
Imagine not being a natural genius at physics.
I'm gonna stab you. I got straight A's in physics until they switched to, I think, one teacher who told me to make an experiment on an egg, and then when I asked her what exactly she wanted me to do, she left the school.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. Experiments are the worst, in my opinion. I much prefer theories.
Mm.
Theoretically speaking, there's much more to speak about. Practically speaking, we're at the end of our podcast. So Heck, you have a great passion. So you will also want to ask the ending question, or before that, is there anything you guys would like to talk about which we haven't covered?
Oh, well, yeah.
Bless
Let's
you.
see.
No,
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
I suppose you're twice blessed now. So in that case, Heck, give us our closing question.
All right. What kind of a kid were you guys? Were you a pansy who got
Or
pushed
were
around?
you alive?
Or what if they were what? If they're alive now, they were alive as a kid, Summer.
That's you.
Well, or were you alive as a kid? Or, were you a cool boy like me? Or would you hang your head in shame and cry like a little freaking baby, Wah, wah, the teacher's yelling at me. Let me know and give me
That's
your
called-
address so I can go and punch you if you are a pansy.
So
And
now
you
we know what Heck would do in a position of power.
Yes.
He would bully his underlings.
And to be fair, is it much different from what he's trying to do right now?
Well, I mean, I told you guys, right? I used to be a big bully.
No, you didn't.
I'll tell you guys, I used to be like a huge bully.
No, you didn't. You were small. You're still small.
Yeah, well, that didn't stop people from getting bullied by me. Words hurt.
I like how you say the people got bullied by you as if it was their choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was their choice. A notable example, there was this really cute girl who was dating this really trash person. So every day I walk up to her and I'd say, hey, let's give her a wrong name. Let's call her Amelia, right? I'd be like, hey, Amelia, do you know what you are? And she'd be like, no, I don't know what I am. I'd say, Amelia, you are human trash. And I'd say, all right, I'll be back tomorrow to ask you the same question. And she'd be like, all right. And then the next day I'd ask her, hey, Amelia, what are you? And she's like, what are you on about? Because she will have forgotten. And I'll tell her that she's human trash. And I'll repeat that. I repeated that for the entire rest of the year until it got to the point where I would ask her, hey, Amelia, what are you? And she would sigh and she would tell me, I am human trash. Heck. And then I'd say, very good. And I would leave.
I think she was just getting frustrated with your antics and not understanding them instead of being bullied.
Oh,
This,
sure.
This person wants to be a professor.
This person will
Teaching
not get to be a professor. We have recordings against it.
The younger generation can learn from this how to be quality human beings.
See, the thing is,
What you
How to
are.
really bring people up.
I'm sure if I went to Amelia now,
Wow.
It's called Trash Can, though. Okay.
still
Having
call
said all of that, guys, I hope you've all had a lovely experience listening to this. I hope you've had learned something new. I hope you've enjoyed it either way. And with all that said, I'll see you all and hear you all again next week. So have a lovely evening.